Watching Dr. Laposata go at it with Hank Brennan was absolutely the highlight of my day. Day 30 of Karen Read's trial wrapped up on Tuesday, and I'm going to try and make this as concise as possible, but a lot was said. It's a great day for a great day. My name is Sydney Rushing. I'm a criminal defense attorney in the state of Michigan. Now let's talk about it. Morning started off with Kanoni saying that she was worried about some of the photos that the defense wanted to introduce and say that they were gruesome, and it'd look better if they were cropped a little bit. And I'm like, this is a murder trial. Showing the brain and brain stems, probably not the most gruesome thing, but here we are. Jackson arguing a motion for Judge Kanoni to reconsider her decision to not let Laposata talk about the dog bites. He said that Brennan opened the door for her, and at this point, the prosecution is getting to have it both ways. He said that Miss Read is entitled to more, she's entitled to better, and she's entitled to the evidence. Brennan makes the argument that the defense is just trying to admit inadmissible hearsay. Judge Kanoni denied the motion. She was going to give a curative jury instruction, which of course we know at this point they're not any good. Jackson fired back that this is outrageous, and Kanoni ended up saying that Laposata could talk about animal bites, but not dog bites specifically. She could say that they look like animal bites, but she cannot say dog bites. And Dr. Laposata was called back to the stand, and Jackson continued his direct examination. She said that the injury on John's eye could not have been caused by the spoiler. She said that John's brain had a brain stem herniation, and she showed photos of this, the gruesome photos. She said that this type of brain injury causes death. She says you go unconscious, your brain swells, you die. She said that John wouldn't have been able to have any purposeful movements after a hit like that to the back of his head. She showed a picture of the back of John's head again and said that this had to be something with a granular pattern to it, and that was like linear or ridged to have broken the scalp. Said she would have told investigators that the object was not smooth, that it was a granular in texture or had things sticking out of it, and then it would have been up to the police to go back to the scene and find something or try to find something that fit that description. That there's nothing at 34 Fairview that she saw in the photos that could have caused it because it's just flat grass. She was asked about her experience with autopsies and hypothermia. Said that she didn't agree with Dr. Scortabello's diagnosis that John had hypothermia because a dead body cools. The jury was then shown two photos of stomach lining, one of somebody who had hypothermia and one of somebody who didn't. You know which one didn't have stomach lining issues or ulcerations or something that showed hypothermia? That's right, John's. There was a sidebar called because of course there's always one when the jury is eating up anything that a witness is testifying to that hurts the Commonwealth. We talked about the machine that did the CPR compressions on John. Said that the machine caused the stomach line hemorrhaging and also the fractured ribs. She also said that she didn't believe that he had hypothermia because there was no signs of frostbite on his body. Her opinion is that John died from brain injuries and skull fractures from blunt force trauma to the back of the head. Then a photo of John's arm was put back up on the screen, and she was asked about her experience with animal-involved injuries, that these injuries are consistent with an animal bite or claw marks, and that this happened while John was alive. And Laposata was being asked about her experience at a medical examiner involving, bodies that had injuries with motor vehicles. There in her experience, there was a lot of objections. Finally, after objections and sidebars, Jackson asked if John's arm injuries could have been caused by Karen's SUV, and she said no. And there was more objections in another sidebar, and at this point, clearly it is irritating the shit out of the jury. Because at this point, they're probably just like, we don't care for you to ask this question, the same question in a million different ways. Just let him ask the question, because it's gonna come out right at some point. Just answer the question, okay? After the sidebar, Laposata was asked about the lack of bruising that John had. Then as John was approaching her with the photo, Brennan called for another sidebar. During this sidebar, Judge sent the jury to lunch, and she, heard some arguments, and then she told the attorneys to work it out between the two of them, because she's done and she's going to lunch. After lunch, Jackson brought out the x-rays, and Laposata said that there was no defects in his hand or his arm, meaning no broken bones, that everything was 100% intact. Then Brennan gets up for cross, and she pulled a little funny move because he said, good afternoon, and she said, well, there's 6 minutes until the afternoon, and then kind of like chuckled and then said, that's all right, So it started off funny, and it kind of left Hank speechless. Then there was another one where he asked her about, what's under the dirt and then grass. And she goes, well, dirt's under the grass. And it was just funny. This whole exchange was hilarious. Anyway, she testified that John's movement was upward and back and not a thrust is what Brennan was trying to describe it as. When Brennan tried coming at her credentials saying if she had any neurological training, she's like, I'm not a neurosurgeon, I'm a forensic pathologist. Brennan tried to discredit Dr. Laposata, saying that, she didn't know anything about brains essentially and that she couldn't say when John's brain swelling started. And she goes, yes, I can. It started when he got hit. She said that she was not there when the injury happened, but John's body tells her everything she needs to know. That is such a strong statement. Then Brennan asked her if John's head injury was a classic wound from falling backwards, and she goes, what do you mean by classic wound? Every wound is different. Then we had another funny exchange because Brennan asked her if the brain was soft like tofu, and her response was, oh, gross, and her facial expression was hilarious. And then he said, well, is it soft like that? And she goes, well, I guess it depends what kind of tofu you have. And the jury and everybody in the courtroom was laughing at this point. She said her opinions are based off her 40 years of experience. She confirms that she doesn't believe that John's injuries are from a broken taillight or broken glass. Then Brennan asked her if she knew the speed that the impact happened, and she said, well, the vehicle never hit him, so it doesn't matter. Brennan did not know what to do with himself after that, and the jury is like, right, you know they're paying so close attention at this point. Then he tried asking more questions about this, and she literally just said, it did not hit him, so it's not relevant to my opinion. By looking at his body, I can tell that there is no evidence of him being struck by a vehicle. So whether the vehicle is going fast or slow, it doesn't matter. It has no relevance. And then Brennan asked for a sidebar, and the jury was sent off for lunch. During lunch, Brennan brought in an audit that he wanted to bring in to discredit Laposata, and it's kind of funny because he's used her before in his cases. Come on, Brennan. He's obviously trying to use this to discredit her credibility because the jury is eating her up. They just really are. Judge Cannoni basically said that he can question her about a few of the things. Regarding Rentschler, Cannoni said that she wants this writing there, or opinions that are on this text slide, to be taken off. She thinks it is duplicative and they got to give the jury some credit. Brennan wants his testimony to be limited. And at the end of the day, Cannoni, granted some of Brennan's requests, but not all of them. After lunch, the cross continues. He confirmed that she hasn't taken a course recently on brain injuries, but that she's taught it. In regards to the nightclub fire situation, she said there was a flurry of negative press with no basis. Brennan tried to get her to acknowledge that somebody could have a lower body temperature and still be alive, and she essentially goes, yeah, people can die from hypothermia, but that's not the case here. She said that John had no injuries on him that suggest or support him being hit by the back of the vehicle, and that includes the spoiler and that includes the bumper. Brennan ends his questioning. Jackson comes up for a brief redirect just to essentially ask about the x-rays and get the x-rays admitted into evidence. At this point, I think Dr. Laposata was a great call by the defense team. Then they called witness number 11, Andrew Rentschler. He's from ARCA. On direct, Jackson had him go through his background, and he did some interesting things with the military and with the NHL. And he said that Wolf focused on the damage with the vehicle, and he focused on assessing the injuries to John. Obviously, he said that they were hired by not the defense, not the prosecution, and not an insurance company. Obviously, the whole FBI stuff was really limited as to what could be brought out. Anyways, he said that they were not hired by any of these people, and that they did this testing without any knowledge of the defense. He essentially said that with the forces involved, John could not have been hit by the car with the taillight without other injuries. He said that the arm injury was not consistent with a taillight interaction. And then there's, of course, another sidebar, and the jury is let home for the day, and they were told that the case is essentially winding down. And Cannoni asked, the attorneys basically agreed that this would probably be submitted to the jury by Friday or Monday. And I kind of hope that it's on Monday, because Monday would be day 34. And that's your recap for day 30 of Karen Read's trial. Thanks for being here, thanks for the support, and thanks for following along. Here's the question of the day. Do you think that Dr. Laposata's testimony put the final nail in the coffin of the Commonwealth's case? Let me know in the comments.